surrender. I shall fight till the end of days. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn all Satan carrier. Father loose all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David turned Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contract, rip it up. And if your bad mind people to go meet it up, pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it up. So no weapon that form against us shall not prevail. And no man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer, conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer, conquer them.
Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. Everything, Father. Thank you.
Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to fail. And remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of life. Send down your warriors with the hello. They carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil try trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this storm is coming. I can see the high tide rage. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we decide? No weapon that form against us shall not prevail. And no man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Because I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer, conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer, conquer them. I am a man, I am a champion, I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Radio broadcasting out of Carriacou, and 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram, whatever it may be. A very special good morning to you. It's a beautiful morning in the Spice Isle of Grenada, and of course I must remind you every single day that no matter what the circumstance is, we must be grateful because we have life. We have another day. And that is something that we must be happy about. You know, there's a lot going on. I very early want to make an appeal to the listeners and the viewers that we are going to open the lines very early this morning. The number to call is 440-7377 if you are calling locally, and of course 347-329-3101 if you are in the diaspora and you'd like to contribute to the conversation. You can do so as well. All right. I do want to encourage each and every single one of us to stay strong. Hold fast. I know that this is a difficult time, and for some of us it's more difficult than others. And a lot of us may not understand what some of you may be going through. Mentally, you know, it's rough on a lot of people. But what I do want to encourage those of you listening, whether you may be struggling, whether you aren't struggling, that it's really very important for us to be our brother's keeper, be our neighbor's friend, be kind, be considerate, be compassionate, be responsible. And the reason I'm saying this is because as of late, I have received, and I know friends who have received calls from individuals who have expressed that they are struggling to deal with the effects of COVID-19. And for some people, it hasn't hit home in terms of no one in your family or none of your friends have been directly affected. For others, it may be different. But it is important for us to treat everybody with the same amount of kindness and consideration that you would like to receive. Because we may be watching an individual, that person may be smiling on the outside, but on the inside, we don't know what's going on. That person may be struggling in many different ways. And there are people who went into this quarantine and into this lockdown already with mental burdens and already with a lot of stresses. So it is important for us to check in. Family, friends, check in. And I say this because, I mean, we've had 2 alleged suicides for the month already, for the year already. And we will never know what led these people to do what they did. And we will never know how many other people out there are having these sorts of thoughts and feelings. And some of us are not helping by spreading lies and spreading rumors and spreading propaganda that is worsening their situation. You might be able to handle it. I might be able to handle it. I might be able to watch some piece of the news and deal with it differently. But there are people out there who cannot deal, which is why it is important that when you share information, make sure that the information that you are sharing is valid and is true, and that you are not putting people under undue stress. And I felt like it was so important for me to come and talk about this morning because there are people out there struggling. It is hard for a lot of people. Some of us are taking this thing as a joke. Key. We think it's funny that we've caused some sort of uproar or started some scandal. We think we've achieved something great. Feel like we are beating a system. We feel like we are uncovering some untruth that doesn't even exist. But really what we're doing is we are burdening the minds of a lot of people who are already overwhelmed by this situation. So I really want us to take that into consideration this morning. And for those of you out there who are listening and people who aren't struggling, but you know somebody that's struggling, I want to advise that you get in contact with the therapists, the psychotherapists at the Ministry of Social Development. They have therapists that work around the clock, 24/7, to listen to you, to provide solutions, or at least try. Because we understand that this is hard for a lot of people. Nobody is saying that it was going to be easy. It was always going to be a hard situation. Some people are handling it worse than others. But let us remember that there are people out there that look up to a lot of us, that depend on a lot of us for information. And as such, we must be responsible in sharing. So those of you out there who are struggling, the hotline is 247, and that's available around the clock. And there are therapists available from 8 to 4 at the number 440-4787. So know that there is somebody out there ready to talk to you, ready to hear from you, to help you deal with this difficult time. And you know, it just goes to show we are at a place where in some cases you have people who feel like there's nobody that they can turn to. And that is a very difficult thing to process. When you feel like there's nothing else that you can do, and there's nobody that you can talk to, and nobody that you can turn to. I don't even think I can relate to how these people are feeling. And that's why it's so important that we be our brother's keeper. You know, I look at people on social media, at the things that some people say, the things that some people do, and I wonder sometimes if they think that they live in a world just by themselves, where what they do only affects them and nobody else. It's a very sad thing to process. It's a very sad thing to talk about. But what will we do? Continue to pray, continue to persevere, and know that there are people available to talk to. The hotline is for the psychotherapist is 247. That's it's 440-4787, and that is around the clock. Somebody that you can talk to, somebody that will listen and try to provide solutions. But to friends and family members out there who have people, and you know for a fact that these people are struggling and have been struggling and have had a history of depression and a history of not dealing with difficult situations well. It's also your responsibility to reach out to them, because it is the humanitarian thing to do. And you would like somebody to do it for you had you been in the same situation. So let's take that into consideration. Remember, guys, the lines are open. You can call at 440-7377 for local calls and 347-329-3101 if you would like to call from the diaspora. But I do want to encourage. I've heard a lot of people calling into radio programs and so on, indicating that they're having difficulties. You can also call and let us know what those difficulties are. You never know who's listening, who may be able to provide a solution to your problems. I know that there are a lot of elderly people in society that have difficulty getting medication. And they need refills, of course. If you live in an area where you know that there's somebody that can help you, reach out to them. Or if you live in an area where you know there's someone that you need to help or that needs your help, you can also reach out to them and find out what they need. You know who these people in your communities are. Reach out to people. Find out what's going on with them. See how you can offer some support to them in this difficult time. All right? So I know that there are a few elderly people in society who have made requests for their medication, to receive their medication and how they're going to get it. And I'm sure that that is being taken into consideration. And I'm sure that there are people in your community that should be able to help. You know, there's one thing that I remember Miss Cami, if it was, that said that people in society need to care more about the people around them. And that is such a true statement. We do need to care more, and caring more extends more than just saying good morning or good afternoon or a nod or being cordial with people. It means extending a helping hand when they need it the most. You know? So let's try our best to identify the people within our community that need our help. And let's just work with them. I heard a very, I don't even know how to feel about this situation. On Friday, the Royal Grenada Police Force would have expressed that they made an arrest that included a group of individuals who saw it fit to have a fete with DJ and food. I mean, how irresponsible can you be? I'm trying to understand the thought process that would lead you to do something like that. To go as far as to get a DJ and y'all cook food to have a party. I mean, in a time like this, when we must be ever vigilant because we do have the possibility of community spread, what is a thought process that would lead you to doing something like that? And I feel like the penalties in these situations must be stricter. People must be held more accountable for these things. Because you are deliberately putting yourself and your family members at risk. Deliberately. And by extension, anybody that these people would come in contact with. And that is how severe the situation is. So we have to be a little bit more responsible in our decisions. I know a lot of people are saying that we should shut down the country. There should be total curfew, no places open, and nothing like that. To save people from themselves, yes. But at some point, people must be responsible for their own actions. We cannot afford to put this pressure on the Royal Grenada Police Force, who, by the way, has been doing a tremendous job in ensuring the safety of the Grenadian public, in ensuring that people uphold the policies and the protocols that have been put in place for our safety. You know? But it's definitely a situation where people need to become responsible for their own actions. There is a law that guides the land. There are consequences to breaking those laws. So while we agree, yes, that sometimes people must be saved from themselves, there must also come a time when people must become responsible for their own actions. It's basically if you have a child and you keep protecting that child from doing what you tell them not to do. At some point in time, experience must be their greatest teacher. And that's all I have to say about that. So we have a few new cases, workplace cluster or workplace transmission. And I mean, it's very it's very troubling to a lot of people. There are lots of questions in terms of where this individual would have contracted the virus, how the virus would have spread. But like we've said here before, the virus is very unpredictable. It basically has a mind of its own. There is probably a possibility that this individual that has the virus now wasn't even the first person in that workplace to have the virus. It's a possibility. It's a possibility that he could have contracted it from one of the others that were tested. And because he is more susceptible to getting ill, would have been identified. That is a possibility. And there are many theories as to how or if or when he would have contracted the virus. But what is most important in all of this is to identify that he has, and that measures now need to be taken to not only protect him, not only to protect the people in his work environment, the people around him, but also to protect the general public. Because you never know who they have come in contact with and who those persons would have come in contact with. And this is why the protocols are so important. This is why the protocols are there to protect us. So we may all have a theory on how this should be handled, and we may all have a theory on how we must deal with the situation. We all have opinions. We all are entitled to those opinions. But when we feel like our opinions are right and our opinions must become fact, that is where we have a problem. And it is important to allow our opinions to not be influenced by what others say. It's he say, she say, they say business. It's worse than the virus itself. It's causing more damage than the actual virus is. So be guided by facts. Always make your decision based on the facts of the matter. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. Everybody is entitled to share their opinion. However, it is important to identify that it is an opinion of yours and not spew information and feel that it is facts that you are sharing because somebody said it. And I often say, if somebody say, and you can't say who the somebody is, it is either information that you should not be sharing because it is confidential or was shared in confidence, or it is information that is most likely not credible. So let us take time to ensure that we assess the information that we are receiving, to use the critical thinking strategies that we have developed, or should have developed at least, in school. Do some deductive reasoning. They teach you that in multiple choice. If you have 3 answers, there's a possibility that one is right, one is most definitely not the answer, and the other one probably needs a little bit more attention to understand. So not everything must be picked up and run with. Take your time. And even when you're sharing information, because I've seen on social media, a lot of the times we feel like we're just sharing information because it's information that we received. But when you share something, you yourself are also responsible, you know. If you don't take the time to assess the information that you are sharing, is it worthy? Is it factual? What effects will this information have on the people reading it? If you don't make those decisions before you share, you yourself are just as guilty as the person who would have originally come up with that information. So you have to be mindful of that, and you have to be very careful in sharing information, in the information that you receive. So remember, the lines are open, 440-7377 for local calls, 347-329-3101 if you are in the diaspora and you'd like to give us a call. Additionally, you can use the chat boxes on the live videos to post your questions, to post your comments, and we will be more than happy to relay those questions, relay those comments. And of course, we always say here, we may not have the answers to all of your questions. We may not have suggestions to all of your problems, but we will most definitely do our best to find them and to ensure that you are adequately informed. So share with us what's going on with you. Yesterday we had the Minister of Fisheries. He was here with us, and he discussed measures that are being taken, considerations that are being given to the fishermen, and what can happen. What are their possibilities, especially in this time? We identified that the world is in a crisis, that the trade market around the world is struggling. And as a result, we must move to suit. Are we going to be able to take advantage of markets that will be disadvantaged as a result of the U.S. not being able to produce? Are we going to be able to take advantage of that? Are the fishermen here ready? Have they set their minds up to be able to deliver if a request like that has been made? We ask for more a lot of the times, but sometimes in asking for more, we must prepare ourselves for the responsibilities that come with it. So, are we ready? The minister would have made mention of being able to take advantage of the Atlantic and what is out there as it relates to our fishermen. It's definitely something that they must take into consideration. The formation of cooperatives, and the Minister of Trade has spoken about that many times here, about the formation of cooperatives and the benefits of doing that. I know a lot of people believe that I must work and build my empire on my own. But collaboration is important. Collaboration is vital. We don't give enough credit to each other, to working with each other. We must treat every single venture that we embark on as a potential business. And that is why collaboration is important, because you may have an idea of how the business must run, but you don't have the know-how for the accounting side of it. And that is why it is important for us to come together. You must have a friend or a family member who knows how to budget. They pocket tight. That's probably the best person at that point to get in contact with. You know, they may not be an accountant, but they probably well know how to manage their money. That's a start. So treat every venture as a potential business. Invest in yourself. That is the biggest investment that you can have, you know. An investment in yourself and an investment in your future and the future of your children. That is the biggest investment that you can make. So treat it as a business. A lot of people fish for the love of fishing. A lot of people, and as the minister said, there's a stigma attached to it. Not just to fishing. There's a stigma attached to a lot of other things as well. But you feel like you must venture into it because there's nothing else that you can do. It's a last resort. But fishing is big business, and we must treat it as such. So for those of you who fish for the purpose of trade, maybe it's time for some of you to come together and say, well, we want to to take advantage of what the minister is speaking about. We want to venture into the Atlantic. We want to be able to provide some of the fish that the international market is demanding. And let's see how that works. It all begins with a thought and a passion for what you're doing. All right. The Grenada Development Bank has also announced that they do have plans in place to help businesses that have been disadvantaged, of course, as well, of course, as a result of the coronavirus. So you now have an opportunity to get a loan that is unsecure up to $10,000. I'm not sure if the numbers have changed in the recent week or so, but that is the last report that we have been given. $10,000 unsecure, and as much as $40,000 if you have security, at an interest rate of 3%. That's basically a giveaway. You know? So contact them. See what they have available for you. See what you can take advantage of to get your business back on its foot, because at some point in time we are going to need to open up locally, internally. And it is going to be a requirement of the Grenadian people to support your local entrepreneurs. And this is what is going to show if we are really willing as a people to invest in agriculture. If we are really willing as a people to support our local entrepreneurs, to support our local businesses. That is what is going to determine that. So we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with the opening of the lines so people can call and contribute to the conversation.
Of Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique is asking all residents who have respiratory symptoms, including cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, or fever, to get tested for COVID-19. Protect your family and yourself. Make the call 538-4787 or 458-4787. Get tested. Save your life. Save my life. This has been a message from the Ministry of Health.
Hello listeners, welcome to our program brought to you by the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. For today's program, we will share with you the changes in our garbage collection schedule for the upcoming Labor Day public holiday, that's Friday, the 1st of May. But before doing so, this message. The Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority wishes to notify all persons who would have purchased tender documents for the provision of garbage collection service in zones 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and street cleaning and collection services in the town of Grenville, that the deadline date for receipt of completed tenders has been extended from Tuesday, April 21st to Monday, the 4th of May 2020. This extension has become necessary as a result of the closure of some institutions during the limited state of emergency. If you are submitting a bid for services on mainland Grenada, please follow the original protocols for addressing and submitting your sealed bids. In the case of bids for garbage collection service in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, bid documents are to be submitted following the stipulated protocols and delivered to the Ministry of Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs before the 3 p.m. deadline on Monday, the 4th of May. All are reminded to follow the stipulated guidelines for the submission of tenders, and please ensure to collect a receipt as proof of your submission and keep safely. Tender documents for the submission of bids can still be obtained from the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority's main office in Frequente for those interested. Thank you. Now for today's program, we share with you the collection schedule for the upcoming Labor Day public holiday, Friday, the 1st of May. We begin with St. David on to Munich St. Andrew. Residents who are serviced by SP Solid Waste Collection Services. There will be no garbage collection service provided on Labor Day. Garbage collection service will be provided on Thursday, the 30th of April. Collection from Munich commences from 5:30 a.m., while collection from Felix Park and Latente Junction will begin from 12 noon. We move on to St. Patrick's West, St. Mark, St. John. Residents who are serviced by Mitchell's Trucking Services. there will be no garbage collection service provided on the Labor Day public holiday. Garbage collection service will be provided on Thursday the 30th of April beginning from 12 noon. For the residents in the south of St. George, you are serviced by Kenny's Trucking and Equipment Company Limited. Please be advised that the garbage collection service will be provided on Labor Day, 1 hour ahead of the regular scheduled time. We now move on to the Tongue of St. George. Residents, the contractor for your area being Rainbow Janitorial Services. You can expect no changes to your regular garbage collection service on the Labor Day public holiday, that's Friday, May the 1st. For the residents in the north of St. George, the contractor for your area being Southern Waste Management Limited. Residents, you are notified that there will be no garbage collection service provided on Labor Day in the communities of Top Cherry Hill, Byway in Fontenoy, Calabash Alley, Mount Morris, and surrounding communities. The collection service will be provided on Thursday, the 30th of April. Garbage collection service remains as scheduled for the residents of St. Paul's Parade, Marrast Hill, Montparnasse Main Road, Coconut, Rady, and surrounding communities on Labor Day. We now move on to North St. Andrew, East St. Patrick. Residents who are serviced by Island Supply Limited, R&R Waste Disposal, and Mitchell's Trucking Services. You are notified that there will be no garbage collection service provided on Labor Day in the communities of Mount Horn, Moya, Hermitage, Snell Hall, and surrounding communities. The collection service will be provided on Thursday, 30th of April. Garbage collection service remains as scheduled in the Tongue of Grenville and the surrounding communities on Labor Day. And finally, for the residents of Carriacou and Petite Martinique, you are serviced by SD Solid Waste Collection and Trucking Company. There will be no garbage collection service provided on Labor Day. Garbage collection service will be provided on Thursday the 30th of April, 2 hours ahead of the regular scheduled time. Residents, you are asked to comply with these changes for the public holiday, that's Friday the 1st of May 2020, by ensuring that your waste is properly bagged and placed out in time for the collection service. Private waste haulers are also asked to note that the disposal site will be open from 7 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. on the public holiday. This has been our presentation for today. Do enjoy the remainder of your day from the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority.
All right, and we are back. Now, we are not going to be able to take calls, and this is because we are awaiting a call from our Minister of Tourism. She will be calling and sharing with us some of the policies and plans that have been put in place, because we know one of the sectors that has been hardest hit around the world as a result of the COVID-19 is the tourism sector. A lot of the disadvantaged families in Grenada are from that sector. So there is a lot of unemployment, a lot of people are home, a lot of people don't know when they're going to go back to work again, you know. So while a lot of us are complaining and clamoring about easement for a day to go to the barber, an easement for a day to go by the nail tech, an easement for a day to go by the hairdresser, an easement for a day to go in an Indian store, and you know, and I'm saying this because I've seen it. This is the level of inconsideration that we have on social media. While a lot of people are clamoring that the salaries of essential workers must be raised at this time, there are a lot of people who do not know when it is they're going to be able to go back to work, to be able to support their families on their own again. They don't know when they're going to get back to some sort of normalcy. You know, so we have to take that into consideration. When we post certain things, be considerate to the people that are reading it. Like I said, you have a right to your opinion, but you have a right to your social media page. But you also need to understand that when you do that, there are a lot of people that are affected by the words that you post. You know, so please take that into consideration. So we're going to hear from the minister. We're going to hear about what's happening in the region as it relates to tourism. When will we see some sort of normalcy again with the tourism sector? You know, tourism is big business. Tourism is not an entity on its own. Tourism is paired with so much. It's paired with the construction sector. It's paired with agriculture in a very big way. You know, some people are saying that government needs to support agriculture more. And while I feel like more can be done with agriculture, I really don't feel it's the government that needs to do more. You know, I feel like the Grenadian people need to do more when it comes to agriculture. You know, there are 7,000 farmers registered with the Ministry of Agriculture. There are 9 or almost 10,000 farmers registered overall, which means that the capacity is there. But are the farmers producing? Are they listening? Are they cooperating with each other? And that's the most important thing. Cooperation, collaboration in these times. Finding best practices and sharing best practices. Because at the end of the day, we all stand to benefit from this. So what are we doing to help each other? You know, and I want to give you a quick update on what's happening in the region. As it stands right now, Jamaica is at 396 cases of the coronavirus. 396 cases with 7 deaths. Venezuela is at 331 cases with 10 deaths. You know, Martinique is at 178, Guadeloupe 151. Trinidad and Tobago is at 116 with 8 deaths. The Bahamas is at 80. Barbados is at 80 with 7 deaths. The Bahamas has had 11 deaths. Guyana is at 78 with 8 deaths. We have St. Martin with 38 cases. Antigua and Barbuda with 24 cases. Grenada is now at 20 cases. Dominica at 16. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who did so well in announcing that they had no more cases, is now at 16 cases. So that just goes to show how unpredictable the virus is. We have a St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 16 cases. St. Kitts and Nevis, 15 cases. And recently it was announced that St. Lucia, who had declared that they were free of cases of the virus, they have now reported as well that they have 2 new cases. So this just goes to show how unpredictable the virus is, and how one solution does not fit all in dealing with this situation. So St. Lucia may have handled their dealing with their virus different. Grenada as well, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, whatever it may be, they all deal with it different because they must tailor their response to suit the situation. We have Greenland, and I'm only mentioning this because they have had 11 cases and they have had full recovery. Anguilla also has noted full recovery, and they have had only 3 infections. And of course, St. Bart with 6 infections and full recoveries. And a lot of people may be saying, well, let's take a page from their book. Let's see what they are doing, and maybe we can do it too. But we have to remember that it is not one size fits all. And it must be dealt with as time goes by, as situations change, as information changes almost daily. We now have new symptoms to look out for. Gastrointestinal symptoms. Those were not identified in the very beginning, but now but now they are noted as symptoms. The minister has indicated that she will call at about 11:30. So let's take a few calls. I want a few opinions on the education sector, what's happening in education. I know that a lot of people have high opinions on what it should be, and I myself feel a certain kind of way as it relates to education and our nation's children. And I must say that there are teachers out there who are doing a wonderful job. And I'll give an example. This week, yesterday and today, I usually keep my kids on the same routine unless maybe we went to sleep late, or anything like that. But I try to keep them as best as possible on the same routine, because one thing I know parents are going to have a difficulty with when things start opening up again is getting their children back on that routine, getting them to get up early and get ready to go to school. That may be one of the difficulties that we are going to experience as parents. But what I've noticed is that their teachers have now been very consistent in providing work on time. I'm telling you, before I leave the house in the morning to come to work, they are already engaged in their educational activities. And of course, I must say kudos to those teachers. It's a very unfamiliar, it's a foreign circumstance for a lot of people. Even Barbados would have announced yesterday that their school term is about to start. Because I think they close a week after us and they open a week after as well. And they have announced that they are about to start the school term. And what they have announced is also that they understand the difficulty. They themselves have an e-learning platform that they will be using. It is not a platform that belongs to the government of Barbados, but it is a platform that they have indicated to all of their teachers that they must use. And they have identified difficulties in not the system that they have put together, but the challenges that they will face in getting the education sector now on the lines of e-learning, getting that up and running again. They have identified issues with training for teachers as well. They have identified issues with technology, getting those devices not only to teachers but also to students. They have also identified students made mention of identifying students who don't have access to electricity or don't have access to internet services to get them to where they need to be. They have identified these, and that just goes to show that the situation we have in Grenada it's not singular to Grenada. It's happening everywhere. Even the USA, when I listened to Beyond the Headlines on Monday, the teacher or the professor that was there, she made mention of the issues that they are experiencing in New York. Issues that are very similar to those in Grenada. And we're talking about the United States, who at a whim can print trillions of dollars to purchase devices to distribute to the children in the different states. And they are even unable to do that. So it just goes to show that in this time, collaboration is needed. And one of the questions that was asked to the union members on Monday is if they are able to touch base with the entire membership. And the premise of that question, I want to believe, is to find out how are you determining who is affected or what percentage is affected. How are you determining who needs assistance from who doesn't need assistance? You see, because the function of the union must be much more than just negotiations. It must be much more than just speaking out on issues that you think is affecting the membership. it must be a support system as well for their membership. And with the Labor Day tomorrow, I hope that I hear some messages of encouragement, messages of indicating how they plan to help, because that's important. And it's not a struggle, it's not a fight between the union and the Ministry of Education, and it shouldn't be. It must be a joint agreement on how they can help. So members that are contacting their unions and expressing that they cannot complete their tasks because they are having difficulty in getting devices or difficulty with internet services, what advice are you giving to them? What support are you providing to these people? Because it must be much more than just saying call the Ministry of Education. There must be much more that can be done to help facilitate their needs. So a lot of these questions need to be asked, and it's important to look at that question in its context, because if the union has such a vast membership that they cannot keep track on all of their members, but they're asking the Ministry of Education to do it. And I'm wondering how, because remember that the Ministry of Education has workers too, These people have been working around the clock to meet the needs of the teachers. So we have to take that into consideration. We have our first caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good morning.
I just want to make the point that I think that the that the GUT should assist the government in sourcing and paying for the devices for the teachers and students. They've been making enough money from the teachers for the longest while.
All right. Thank you for your contribution, caller. That's a theory. When I read the article that was written from Barbados on the Ministry of Education, one of the things that stood out to me the most is the fact that they have collaborated with private sector individuals, and I want to stress on that, to source the devices that will be delivered to the teachers and to the students over a period of time in Barbados. So it's the government of Barbados, along with private sector individuals, who are sourcing these devices for their students. In Grenada, it's slightly different because it's the government of Grenada. They've ordered 17,000 or a little over 17,000 devices. Out of those 17,000 devices, remember, we have about 1,800 teachers on island, practicing teachers on island. And with that being said, every single teacher is entitled to a device. I mean, it's already written in stone that they will get a device. And I know a lot of people are clamoring about there was a collective agreement that stated that each teacher would receive a laptop or so on. And while I agree agreements must be upheld and so on, I also understand in which context the Ministry of Education would have made that agreement. I mean, we are now on the basis where e-learning is at the forefront. E-learning is what we are doing. It's basically been thrown in our laps, And while preparations have been made over the years to get everyone on that scale, because soon it's not just going to be the education sector, soon it's going to be the business sector that has been digitalized. We have to prepare for that. We have to be ready for something like that. In this case, it's basically been thrown at the education sector as a means in which they must now reach their children in order for them to be taught. In that case, we must try to adapt to suit. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Nobody said it was going to be at the click of a finger. Nobody said that. But complaining and finding excuses really doesn't help the matter at all. It actually hurts it more. It actually puts us back. Grenada has been the first, and I want us to be proud of this. Regardless of which administration did it, we are the first Caribbean region who is able to supply all of our teachers with devices. We are the first Caribbean region who has a platform specific to Grenada, designed for Grenada, for the use of e-learning. I mean, that is something to be so proud of, to hold our heads high about, because we have done a great thing as a nation. And yes, there are going to be problems and there are going to be challenges. There are some of the, imagine this, Khan Academy has been around for a very long time. Khan Academy is a platform or a forum where they teach, where e-learning can take place. And a lot of the teachers are using it. A lot of the students are using it for learning. And even in themselves, they have difficulty in logging in, and they have difficulty with passwords, and they have difficulty with information on the site. And that has been around for a much longer time than the MSTAR program. So we have to, it's ours, and we must be proud of that. The fact is, it belongs to us here in Grenada. This platform, this MSTAR platform, is for us. Zoom can crash at any time. Edmodo could crash at any time. But the MSTAR platform belongs to us. And we have to be proud of that. Regardless of if we support the administration or not, putting that aside, let's look at the thing realistically. Let's look at it logically, without bias, without influence. And let's see how we can develop it so that it can suit the needs of the teachers and it can suit the needs of the children. But the only way that's going to happen is if we start using it. And there are teachers who have already started using it, who have already started posting their assignments, who have already started engaging their students using the platform. So that tells us something. It means now that we must look for a way in which we can share our best practices with each other. Because like I said, collaboration between teachers across the board from different schools. My learning practices and yours may be different, but in this time, mine may work. We won't know unless we collaborate. So let us do our best to ensure that that is done. Let us do our best to ensure that this is a success because it belongs to us. We can now lift our head high as Grenadians and say we have been the first in the region to have a platform that works for us, that has been designed for us, that is built for us. And no matter how we feel about the administration, and no matter how we feel about the Minister of Education, no matter how we feel about the Prime Minister, feelings aside, we've done a good thing. And we've come a long way. And what COVID has done is it has amplified a lot of deficiencies. And that's a good thing, because it means now that these deficiencies can be attended to. It means now that these deficiencies can be fixed. We only have better to get from here. That's all we have to get from here. Better. To build stronger. to put measures in place that would help us deal with a lot of the different circumstances that may come our way. Because remember, we're dealing with COVID now. But from June 1st, we have the hurricane season to deal with. And with an extended dry season, that means more heat. And we know that hurricanes love some warm water and a humid environment. So we have to take that into consideration as well. We have to keep our minds on track. Don't let gossip and propaganda and hearsay and these things, don't let them drive you off of the track that you are meant to be on. Don't let them interrupt your train of thought. More importantly, don't let them influence how you feel about something. Be guided by facts always. Be guided by facts always. So we should be able to take another call before the minister calls in. Remember, the number to call is 440-7377 if you are calling locally. And if you are in the diaspora and you'd like to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. And share with us. What do you think? Share with us your opinions. You know, I got a call yesterday from a gentleman after the program was over, and he was relating how difficult his situation was because he was an entrepreneur of a big family, and he didn't know where to go from where he is now, you know, or what to do. And he wants to be able to continue his business and support himself and support his family, and he didn't know what he should do. You know, and in these kind of calls break my heart. Everybody who knows me knows that these things these things make me very emotional. I feel for people. I feel strongly for people's situations and people's circumstances. And I advised him, and this advice would go for all of the entrepreneurs out there who are struggling. This is an opportunity for you to build your business. And some of you may be saying, well, what's she saying? They build your business and we dey home and we ain't going nowhere. It gives you an opportunity to sit down, look at your business, identify the deficiencies in your business, do the research and come up with a plan. Measures and means to help grow your business. To make a few calls and find out from other people, from other business owners, what you can do to fix the problems and deficiencies in your business. And then there's the Grenada Development Bank, who's making available up to $40,000 with a 3% interest rate for entrepreneurs who want to get back on their feet, to help them support their families during this difficult time. And if you're wondering, well, I don't have any security, how am I going to get access to funds? There is $10,000 available, unsecured, for you to take advantage of. But you can't just walk into the bank and tell them, well, COVID-19 ain't making no sales, and, you know, now is the time for you to sit down, put a plan together, do some projections. And if you can't do it yourself, you must know someone who will help you, who is willing to give advice. Now is an opportunity on social media for those of you who are very well versed in these areas and you ain't really have nothing else to do, to offer some assistance. Do some pro bono work and advise these entrepreneurs on how best to build their business. That is an option that you can take advantage of. So please keep that in the back of your minds. Now is an opportunity for you to, and there are some families who aren't as affected. And I want to say this carefully because I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm saying. We are all affected in some way or the other by COVID-19. Whether it may be because your source of income has been suspended, whether it may be because you don't have the means to carry out your day-to-day activities, whether it may be, whatever it may be. Everybody has been affected by the virus. But I will say this. Some of us are not as badly affected as others. And that is a true statement. Some of us are not as badly affected as others. So, if you continue to receive your salary, even if it's just a portion of your salary, you can still continue living your normal lives. And I say this, meaning if you have to put away money for your bills, do that. Don't feel that because COVID-19 is here, it is an excuse for us to just take our money and spend all on food, and we sit at home and we eating. We need to still manage. We need to still put monies aside and resources aside to deal with, because when the country opens again, you still have to pay your light bill. You still have to pay your water bill. You still have to continue paying the bank. You cannot say to them, well, you know, COVID-19 and I was home under quarantine, but you were still receiving your salary. Yes. So what is the problem? You know, so we have to keep thinking about these things. There are people who will definitely need a lot of support after this is all over, especially people that work in the tourism sector, hoteliers and the entrepreneurs that do spices and all of these things. They will need a lot of support after this is done, because once we get back on our feet in the country, and some of us may be able to go back to work in the banks and in our private businesses, and, you know, some of us may be able to go back to doing these things, they will not. And we must remember that. Our taxi drivers, people who have guest houses, are entertainers, and I wanna make this note here to say that there are a lot of entertainers who are disadvantaged as well. The people who make a living off of singing or playing a musical instrument, dancers, those people who rely on the tourism sector. So it's not just the people who work in the hotels and the taxi men, but by extension the farmers. By extension, the people who provide janitorial services. By extension, the entrepreneurs that sell the spices. By extension, the people who work in arts, performing arts. That's a lot of people. And we still have some insensitive people out there saying government must raise salaries. In this time, I don't care whether it's your opinion or not. That's not the point of the statement. The point is, it was insensitive to begin with. And these are the same people crying out for raising salaries for workers. And then they are the same people that are making all sorts of confusion over the e-learning platforms and teachers not being able to access technology to deal with situations. So all I've heard from them so far is a whole lot of complaints, whole lot of insensitivity, and a lot less collaboration. That's what I've heard. Disagree with me if you want to. That's definitely what I heard. You know? So tomorrow is coming. I'm waiting to hear if the unions are going to say, well, we make 80-something thousand dollars a year from union dues. We don't have to spend any of that on the Labor Day celebrations. We're going to save a couple $1,000s from that. We're willing to partner with Flow or partner with Digicel or partner with Quartz to purchase a few devices for our teachers. I await the announcement because it's flexibility on all sides. We must all collaborate and we must all contribute. I really want to hear, and I've heard them say that they have been providing training to some of their teachers, and I mean, I would like to hear from the teachers if that is actually so, because from what I understand, they are supposed to be providing scholarship opportunities and so on, and I'm hearing that is not being provided to enough people. I'm just saying, this is my opinion, of course. And this is what I've heard from teachers as well. So I want us to hear what's going on. Because you see, if we must hold government accountable, we must also hold unions accountable, because they are receiving the dues of their membership. And as I said, the union's job is not only to negotiate or to ask for salary increases or to hold government by their necks. That's not your only job. Your job must be to collaborate with your teachers to find out what their needs are and to be able to then to deliver on some of their needs. You may not be able to deliver on all of their needs, but you must be able to do something. You can't just sit there and say, well, government should or government promised. And if a teacher reaches out to you with a need, you take that to mean that all teachers have a problem, and then you make a clarion call on behalf of all of the membership which you haven't spoken to. So you don't even know the gravity of what you're speaking about, but you're making a clarion call to government to fix the issue. But you don't even know the gravity of it. Just my opinion. But I'm waiting. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day. We should all encourage our unions. Not just the Grenadian Union of Teachers, but all of our unions. And our private sector individuals as well. To join with government and try to match that 17,000 devices. It's a possibility. We're asking for government to do everything, but we're not willing to do anything ourselves. And that's the truth. It may not sit well with a lot of people, and a lot of people hear me speak or listen to our program and believe that our program is strictly political. And while you feel that way, a lot of the information that is being provided cannot be contested because it is fact. So we need to do more. We need to collaborate. We're calling for flexibility because we are saying that government is asking teachers to wake up at 8:30 and go to school from 8 to 6. I'm 100% sure that that's what I heard on Beyond the Headlines. But what they aren't saying, and I'm hoping that they aren't saying it because they're not trying to mislead the Grenadian public, but what they aren't saying is that the Ministry of Education has, listen, and I want to take my time and say this. The public servants that work within the Ministry of Education, you have absolutely no idea who they support. May not be NNP, may not be NDC. They work for the good of education. And I want to stress that. These people get up out of their beds in the morning, go to work from 8 o'clock, 8:30, work all through the day, sometime all in the night they're working. These individuals in the Ministry of Education, these people, these public servants are working hard to ensure that teachers have the necessary tools to do their job. And they may not, what the teachers require may not, it may not materialize as quickly as they would like it to. But the fact that it's being worked on is undeniable. These people must be applauded because they are continuing to work. The people in the Ministry of Finance who pay the full salaries of the same teachers and the same union member, because I heard that he's a principal as well. These people get up early in the morning as well to do their jobs. So we have to take these things into consideration. Nurses and policemen with children. They have children too that require attention. They have to get up 7 o'clock in the morning and go out and do their jobs. We have to look at that, you know. We aren't looking at this thing from all sides. I don't hear the trade union council or technical and allied workers union going on public platforms and saying that the nurses can't go to work because they have to stay home and take care of their children who need to do their assignments and so on. I don't hear that because I feel like Mr. Andre Donald in his wisdom, Andre in his wisdom understands the gravity of the situation that we are in, and that flexibility must come across the board. Somebody is saying that the unions abroad offer health and security benefits, health insurance plans, education, legal services, medical team, annuity plan, benefits at a glance. I would like to know, because I'm hearing a lot of talk about what the union is doing. Broad statements, we're doing a lot. I want a list of the things that they're doing. Now, I do have on the line with me a Minister, Clarisse Modeste, who we have been awaiting her call. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning to you, and good morning to all of your listeners. My apologies, as I indicated, I was in a CTO meeting, Caribbean Tourism Organization. Very interesting, but I thought at least, even if it's 5 minutes, I had to come off. So I'm here until you finish with me according to your time allotted. Sorry about that, but sometimes so many meetings are coming on these days with the crisis on our hands that one cannot ignore it, because as a region in the Caribbean, we have to look at how we confront this pandemic that faces us collectively, and see how we can really overcome and start back the tourism industry going. So my apologies.
No problem, Minister. We definitely understand that it is a difficult time, especially for you being Minister of Tourism, because that is one of the sectors that has been hardest hit by the COVID-19. Now, I know that, and I want to get straight to the questions because, of course, our time is limited, and I'm hoping we can have another conversation as the weeks go by.
Certainly, I expect that, yes.
Yes, but what are some of the plans? And I know that the regional tourism body has been meeting and discussing the plans for the tourism sector going forward. But can you give us an idea, before we get to that, can you give us an idea of what the implications are of COVID-19 on the tourism sector, apart from just the fact that cruise ships are not able to move?
Well, yes, the tourism sector is It's hard hit just as all other sectors. I won't say that it is harder hit than others, but the reality is that tourism was one of the first sectors to really start to suffer significantly from and to see the fallout, to feel the fallout of the effects of the virus, and it is very likely going to be one of the last ones to recover if something drastic doesn't happen, because as you are well aware, and we're all aware in Grenada, that the tourism depends largely on people coming from abroad, from where we call source markets. And our biggest source market for the last few years has been the United States. And as we look with horror at what is happening in the United States, we know that we have a major problem in terms of when would we be able to receive visitors from the U.S. Also, the Europe, United Kingdom, Germany has been a good source market for us. We have the flight Condor, which came twice weekly, and the Germans are very favored visitors because they tend to stay longer. And Germany had a very good thriving economy. They spend what they spend here is also very important to us, and they were some of the bigger spenders. All of that, you see what's happening with UK. So with these countries having been hard hit, and also with forecasting not sounding very good, where they're saying some countries that had opened up gradually now have to close back because they're seeing a resurgence of the disease and so on. It is all very, very uncertain. But one thing we do know, and just coming out, I left the meeting, one thing we do know is that tourism has always been resilient. People who have a little money to spend, they like to spend it, some of them like to spend it on enjoying themselves, seeing other places, having experiences and so on, that is different to what they would experience in the countries which they live. And over the years, tourism has rebounded very quickly in some after some situations like SARS. They spoke about the depression that we had a few years ago and so on. So we know it can rebound, and we've seen what has happened in our own situation in post-Ivan times. So we are working very feverishly, and I don't know if you want me to go into that now to say what we're doing in Grenada, if that's okay with you. Okay. So what we are doing is that first of all, the government, headed by the Prime Minister, has set up a task force for individuals from varying sectors of the business sectors in the country, and this task force would have subcommittees looking at various things. So tourism has been linked with CBI, and so that committee is headed by the chairman of the Grenada Tourism Authority. They met this morning. I had a brief session with them, and they're going to continue. But what we have been looking at is how do we prepare ourselves for a new tourism era. So we are looking at some of the projects that we had that we think would give us an edge, because what we're generally used to is a disaster that hits one part of the world, and while other parts are intact and can entertain visitors, but this time it's the whole world. And therefore everybody now will be competing to see how the tourism can rebound. And the Caribbean will be no less eager to do the same thing. And so therefore we have to look for an edge, something in addition to all of the wonderful things we have about Grenada, but something that would make perhaps persons who came to Grenada already want to come back. And so we have identified a couple things, like the improvement of the Annandale waterfalls and everything that can happen around there. And also, we had done quite a bit of work on a zip line. We're pursuing that very aggressively because we know zip lines are they are a favorite in terms of attractions for a lot of visitors. And a couple other things that we're looking at, but these are the two primary ones at this time. We're also looking at what we will have to do in the new normal, because things have to change. Whereas a visitor into Grenada before wasn't checked for temperature, now in the COVID era and the post-COVID era, people's temperatures would have to be checked.
Right.
So they might even have to do further testing to see whether they're COVID-free or not. We're coming up with a policy and guidelines for the hotels. What are some of the activities you might have to postpone implementing? Activities not what that used to be normal, but which could perhaps create more opportunities for the spread of the virus. Situations where people can cluster together. Maybe we have to leave that off. As we start back, we will have to start back with some activities, and some we will say, let's hold until we see what is going on. We are coming up with proposals for educating persons, the owners, the employees. What do you do? What do you expect? Persons would have to do maybe some things more. So in the hotels, the temperatures would have to be checked as well.
Right.
We expect to see more hand sanitizers. If you go on a cruise ship, you see hand sanitizers every floor you go, every few yards or whatever. You see the opportunity to sanitize your hands. And those hand sanitizers, they motion sensor. So nobody has to touch the dispenser, but you just put your hand on there, maybe move it a little bit, and the hand sanitizer drops. So maybe we'll be seeing, not maybe, we will demand that we see more of that, facilities for washing hands and all of these things. So things will have to change. We are coming up with protocols and guidelines. We are holding consultations with various persons. And so we're looking for a brighter, more upscale tourism, and we believe that this will happen, but the exact time we cannot say. So this is one of the things. One of the fallout or the negative impacts of the COVID is the loss of jobs. So with nobody coming in, it means that a lot of the people, the taxi drivers, the vendors, well, of course, the hoteliers and their staff, then there's no income in a lot of these areas. So I'm very happy that government, the Minister for Finance and Prime Minister and the team that he had put together, they have been looking at assisting persons who are more vulnerable, who would be more hard hit in this time, because everybody is hard hit, but we have to look for the most vulnerable ones. So you might find that senior higher income persons may not be eligible for payroll support, but government has put that in place. They have applications online that people can apply, and based on the economic levels, they will be given assistance. I know that there's a team working aggressively on it. Certainly it is going to take time, but I expect very soon that those vendors and so market vendors and a number of other persons will start getting some support from that. So I'm very happy for that. We also have another fallout where some of our people, our sons and daughters that we were happy to see go out and work on the cruise ships, they are now stranded. Most of them are on the cruise ships with no guests, but they're there, so they are now the guests of the cruise lines. And we have been having talks with them sometime this afternoon. I hope we can really get final information. We have started preparation for receiving them. We will impose mandatory quarantine. We will insist, the cruise lines have agreed to do testing with them, but we just want to make doubly sure, and we will be testing them and having them supervised on the quarantine, and we hope that very soon we'll see our citizens who worked on the cruise ship back in society and living a normal life. And we're hoping that the industry will bounce back soon so that they too can regain their jobs and be comfortably, employed again. So we're hoping that we can finalize everything with the cruise lines now as to how they will take them, because with some borders closed, they said they had difficulties chartering flights to come in, and we're looking at all of the options. So today we'll finalize that, but from our end, with the medical team, they have come up with a protocol as what is to happen. We have had a few people who have been extremely supportive in that. I must say I was a little bit disappointed that more did not really rise to the occasion to help our citizens return in terms of providing facilities. But to each his own, and we have made the rounds, making requests, and we're pretty much ready to receive on our end. We're just waiting now on the cruise lines to tell us how best they can get our children back home.
Okay. Well, that's a lot, and I know the questions were out there swirling about the cruise ship members and how were they treated and so on. And I have a few friends on a particular cruise ship, and one of them was saying to me that they are actually good because they are living like guests. They've moved them into guest quarters, and they're under quarantine, which means that they're being served their food in their rooms and so on a daily basis. So they're basically okay. I know that most of them want to come home because some of them aren't comfortable with the situation, even though it isn't so bad. But I'm happy to hear that it's being considered and moves are being made to bring them back. One of the things, Minister, that I want to ask quickly, so with the resurgence of the tourism sector, we have to get back on track. And of course, as you said, everybody now is going to be competing for who can come out stronger. What plans or what advice would you give to private citizens who would like to collaborate with the Ministry of Tourism or the Grenada Tourism Authority to help support the tourism sector in terms of providing private services to them to help improve our tourism package?
Well, okay. Well, one of the other things I did not mention was the soft loan that government has put for the tourism sector, the small hotels, and I really hope that they can take advantage of that because, it is very low interest. I think 2.2% or 2.5%, somewhere there. This is unheard of. Banks don't give you loans at 2% or 2.5%. That is there. The interest will be waived for a certain period of time and so on, and so that rate will be available to them for a whole year from now. But they will have to take it up. They will have to take it up within the next few weeks or months. So I hope that they can take it up because every facility could do with an improvement. I know some hoteliers they improve on their stock, on the buildings, the grounds and whatever every year. They close so that they can do it. And there are some that might have been around for quite a while and who have done nothing for various reasons. It is not a criticism, but it's just to say that this is an opportunity now for you to upgrade and do something better. And for others who, because it's not just the accommodation, but we want people to have an experience, to go somewhere and enjoy themselves. There are a number of things that happen in Grenada that perhaps we might not, and I'm speaking about the Tri-Island state, that we might not have maximized as much. And I always think about the Saracas and the heritage, the cultural things that we do that makes us Grenadians, that I think all of the people who organize it in Tivoli and wherever, I know somewhere in St. Patrick's, River Sally has a festival as well, and I've gone there and I've thoroughly enjoyed myself more than once. And I hope they can start thinking of giving it a tourism slant, something that you can do to attract tourism, to advertise more, and to work with us in the tourism sector so that we can help you get ideas as to how you can beef it up, not change it radically, still leave the culture and the heritage component in it, but let us market it to the world as more and bring visitors to our shores. And also, there are several other things that we're talking about that we're going to put some programs together so that we can say, look, this is something you can do in tourism. Go to the farmers, farm to the table projects that are done in other countries that could easily be done with the things that naturally grow in our community. So I think it is our responsibility in the ministry and in the tourism authority to use different media. Maybe one day you can accommodate somebody from the tourism authority or from the ministry who will talk about different projects that people can get into that will enhance the tourism industry. And there is also a loan for that, a very soft loan, soft like cotton and sponge, that persons I would want them to get involved in so that we can increase the variety in the attractions. We have quite some attractions, but we want to increase them. We want to improve on what we do. So I think this is a great opportunity for us that we must not waste, and I want to encourage everyone to get involved.
Wonderful, Minister. Now I know that we are slightly out of time. Maybe I can squeeze 5 or 10 more minutes in because, of course, this is a very, very important sector as it relates to the relationship between agriculture and tourism. As we know, one depends or both depend heavily on each other, whereas farmers would supply most of the hoteliers and so on with produce. When do we see some sort of movement in that area? Because we know it's not going to get back to the way it was anytime soon, because of course you need the movement of people to happen for that to happen. But when do we see some sort of movement in that area again? And what advice would you now give to the hoteliers and so on to engage farmers, whether it's by opening up their restaurants so locals can have an opportunity to eat and so on? What advice would you give in that area?
Okay, well, interestingly, yesterday the Minister for Agriculture invited me to a meeting, and we always communicate, recognizing the importance for agriculture, for food security for Grenadians, but also for the tourism sector. And while this had not been spoken about quite a lot prior to this crisis, I began to realize how important a role the tourism sector plays in agriculture and vice versa. Because people kept saying, no, with the hotels closed, we don't have market, and now with the hotel closed. And I'm saying, while it is very sad to hear, but it is also encouraging to know that the hotel sector and the restaurant sector have been providing a good market for our farmers. We have to build on that. We have to give guidance to the kind of foods. We also have been talking with the minister about year-round production. We must encourage our farmers to do that because the hotels do not want to hear this is the dry season or this is the rainy season. When they want a cantaloupe, they want it year-round. When they want whatever, the mint and the whatever, they want it year-round. So I think there's a lot of room for collaboration and cooperation. We have been talking with the minister, the PS, we have been talking as how we can improve this. And so as the Ministry of Agriculture seeks to improve agriculture in terms of production and quality, we are going to be working with them to improve on the market within the tourism sector for agriculture. I know I have to make it short, but there's a lot more talks going on, but it's just to say that there's a commitment to do that. So I want to encourage farmers to use irrigation system, use what is available, and to strive for good quality, and you must be reliable. Because if they expect a supply coming from you every Friday, it has to get there every Friday. because nobody wants to tell their guests the menu has changed because we do not have XYZ. But we can work together on it, and I'm sure we can build on it.
Absolutely. Now, we only have a couple minutes left, so I'll give you an opportunity to speak to your constituents because I know their ears are locked in to hear from you. And as all other representatives, I know that you have been doing your utmost best to meet the needs of all of the constituents in your constituency, even though there have been rumors and people making irresponsible statements about only supporters that get supplies. But I know that you guys have been doing a wonderful job. So I'll give you an opportunity to speak to your constituents.
One thing I am proud of is that I believe from our leader down, we know when to play the politics card and when not to play. There's a time for that. And we are all well aware that we are all in this together. And so therefore, there should be no color barrier, what is green or what is yellow. I frankly don't care about that. At this time, I know when to care about it. Don't get me wrong, but we all know that this is not the time for it. And we've looked out for our vulnerable. I'm so proud to see what happened a few days ago when a team from some persons from my office, the seed officer, went to the different areas to deliver the seed money to much needed families, and quite a number, a few hundreds of them from my constituency, and I know it gets into thousands countrywide. They received their money. They didn't have to go. They went to their homes. And I want to compliment the Minister for Social Development and her team and the Ministry of Finance and those from my office who went out to do that. Not long before, they went out to deliver food baskets. And we just look at people who are needy. And now we started to even add to it the vulnerable construction persons. It's possible that the contractors might have a little something in the bank to go by. I know the lines are long. However, the lower paid persons they will have a negative shock and that they have to deal with. And so we're starting to look to help some of them. I am so glad that the fishermen are going back. This morning I got a call that from someone who came in last night and they're looking for ice. And I'm happy to say that I got an ice machine for them a couple of years ago, and I'm so pleased to see how they're making use of it, and also our involvement with the construction of the cold room now is becoming very valuable because God, always puts something when something comes out, When something leaves, he puts something in.
Yeah.
And the fishermen, they're holding so much fish now, it's unbelievable. So much jacks is around. Yeah. So it's a good time for people to get their jacks, and it's a good time for the fishermen to get their fish and so on. And I know now that Amerijet and other flights coming, and so shipping of fish, if it hasn't started yet, should be starting soon. I've seen other produce like soursop and so going along. So it is not a bad time for us. I have a chat with many of the constituents. I think all of them know my number. And I say, if you have a serious problem, call me, let me know, and we do our best with the senior admin at the office to do whatever we can. And we reach out to the best we can. And we say to those, if you can help yourself, then give us the opportunity to help others. And you may also want to help others, who know. So this is where we are. I realize that we are out of time. But to my constituents, I want to say that we're in this together. We will ride out this storm, and we will make it through. And I am there for you. And the government, of course, has shown its support in all of the ways. The children, even though they're not in school, they still continue to get the seed so that they can have food to eat. And, of course, the adults get. So a lot has been happening for them. Other people have voluntarily contributed. I know some funds were sent from abroad to help some people. And so with everybody doing a little bit, we have managed to do. But I want to thank my staff. They're ready to go there with hot meals for the people. And we're going to be starting that as of this week coming up.
All right. Now, I know you have to go, but I cannot
No,
let
I'm
you.
not busy. I just don't want to overrun my time. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
join the meeting when I'm done.
There is one very important thing that needs to be addressed or at least commented on quickly once again. And it's something that I think has to be reiterated every single week because we have a few people who are just, they're just, I don't even know how to put it, but they really want to ensure that the propaganda gets out there. So we want to address the issue of airlines because recently a few of the airlines have been making moves and putting up bookings
Yeah.
for Caribbean countries. And of course, I feel it needs to be reiterated that they are their own entities and not entities of the government of Grenada. But I'll leave you to comment on that and what the status is as it relates to the closure of our airports.
Thank you very much. As I said in a release, we had put out a release from the ministry that our borders are closed, and this was made by a public official announcement. And when our borders are opened, the same thing will happen. The same thing will happen. The airlines, they have their own management. They do what they want. I know the U.S. has been mandating various business entities to start back to open up, and we've seen that. And I think it's their prerogative, it's their right to encourage their people to do. And they have put up schedules, flight schedules. One for the American Airlines earlier on, there was a request made, which we said to them, our borders are not open as yet. I mean, we want to keep them partners. We would love it when they start coming back and everything can happen, but we don't feel that the time is right yet. There is a criteria that is being even now firmed up as to when will we be ready to open up. I know that other airlines would have done similar things, but up till now, no official go-ahead has been given from the government of Grenada, and we stand by that until such time, hopefully not extremely long, but in the future, in the medium term, when we can. I look forward to that, but we are just not ready for that yet, and so Grenada's borders are closed until there is an official statement which will be based on serious, in-depth analysis and advice from the health team that we can really open up and go forward.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Minister, for the time. Of course, I'm hoping next week, very early, we can have more in-depth conversation about the tourism sector because
I look forward to that, and by then I might be able to give you the dates of when our people are coming. So just in case there are others who have not heard anything yet, there are a few other ships that we are talking to at this time. So it will happen.
All right. Wonderful. Well, you
Take care, and thanks for inviting me.
You as well, and stay safe.
And have a great day, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique.
All right. Guys, we have come way past the end of our time, but, anything for information, I will do. So, as the minister said, we are not open. Our borders are not open. The airlines are private entities. They are entitled to post their schedules and so on, That people could book the tickets if they want to, but if Grenada Airport closed, it closed. They can't fly in. So I think we need to always take these things and use these critical thinking strategies when we hear these kinds of information to make informed decisions and informed opinions on what certain matters are. Additionally, remember that the minister did mention that all of our family members and friends out there on cruise ships that want to come home, that need to come home, arrangements are being made to get them here. Testing is being done on the ships for these individuals before they come. And of course, when they get here, they will be under supervised quarantine. All right. So let's do what we've got to do in the meantime. Tomorrow is a holiday, guys. It's May Day. All right? Please do enjoy the rest of your weekend. The next shopping days, remember, would be on Saturday and on Sunday before our regulations or our quarantine or more quarantine information is given to us again. Guys, in whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe and be secure. I always want to be talking with you and never about you. Please do enjoy the remainder of your day.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.